time, Bay Area Psychology has the opportunity to profile community issues that affect all of us, particularly pending political action that affects the healing and recovery of individuals and their families throughout the Bay Area. The Coalition for Responsible Social Services and Quality Neighborhoods has formed to address two important issues facing the Board of Supervisors here in San Jose. The City of San Jose proposed group home ordinance and the R1 pilot program amortization ordinance. If both of these proposals pass, housing for battered women and children shelters, clean and sober residential homes, mentally ill and physically challenged housing, and low-income housing located in single-family zones will be required to close, relocate, or apply for conditional use permit by June 30th, 2000. Unfortunately, moving may be complicated by the fact that 20 to 40 cities in California are watching these ordinances carefully. If they pass, these cities will enact similar zoning changes. There will be nowhere to relocate. We can close the shelters, empty the locked facilities as we did in the 70s, and the people do not disappear. So with us to provide more insight to these proposals and their consequences is Larry Carr from the Coalition and Carol Calkins from the Alliance for Community Care. I want to thank you both for making time to join us this evening.
Great, thank you.
One of the reasons that I wanted to use this time tonight is this is a very important change in this city that has not been highlighted very much in the press, which I think is probably one of the most alarming facts this whole thing to me, that something this large and this affecting this many people is something that's still fairly quiet. So we're going to do something about that tonight. Thank you for helping me.
Great.
Now, you were hired, Larry, by the Coalition to help publicize what's going on. Your role is, are you meeting with people, meeting with planning agencies?
We are. I work for a consulting firm, and we've been brought in to help form this coalition. In the past, these groups of providers in both the mental health field and drug and alcohol, and in the many other services that will be affected by these coalition or by these ordinances, haven't ever been together in a coalition form before. So they asked us to come in and help them form this coalition in order to show their strength in numbers, to give them some political clout, and to do some lobbying on their behalf.
Okay. Now, I know Alliance, the Alliance is a pretty large organization. You've got several organizations under that subheading, don't you?
Right. We recently merged. It was a merger of Miramati Mental Health in North County, Avenues to Mental Health, kind of Central County, Community Companions, and prior to that, Perma Housing. Okay. So we are the result of 4 agencies getting together, and we're going through the pains and process of merger. But the merger was completed on January 1, and now we're out there ready to provide the services in a larger format and certainly a wider array.
Okay, so this talking about closing homes affects your agency dramatically.
Oh, absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely. We have in the downtown area, we have Zoe House, which was named after Zoe Lofgren. That's a 35-bed facility. We have the Literal House program and Casa de San Antonio, which are subacute programs affecting 24 people. We have Jacob Center, which is an alternative program to institutionalization or jail. And this allows people to be in the community who have a mental illness and deal with their drug and alcohol issues or their problem behaviors in a very specific manner. It is court-ordered, but it's a very special program, and that serves about 12 people as well.
Okay.
So we do have a number of places right in the downtown area, but outside the area, I mean, if this ordinance goes through, we have a number of congregate living sites outside of the downtown core that would be affected by it as well.
Okay. Let's take a look specifically at these 2 ordinances so we can get more clarity about what we're talking about. Let's take a look at the first. The City of San Jose proposed group home ordinance. This is about revising zoning areas and redefines location, number of residents, and qualifications under which group homes can operate. So let's talk about that one first. That instinctively felt to me as a reaction to perhaps some of the more negative press about group homes that have been, I know, in the Mercury News and some other places. And it sounds like it's an attempt, anyway, to try to clean up some of those violations.
Yeah, it is in a sense. There's some history to it, a little bit of background to this first ordinance. And the city of San Jose has tried to straighten out some of its zoning codes throughout the city for some time now, and this is one of many parts to that plan. And there have been some group homes in the past who have been at fault of some violations, and those have tried to been cleaned up and things. Members of the coalition that we represent, none of them deny that there are bad houses out there, and all of the members of the coalition would like to see those bad houses cleaned up as well, because it gives all of them a bad name. And so that is really where something like this started. But as one of our providers once described, it's kind of a sense of killing a flea with a sledgehammer. That there are problems out there that we can work on, that we can solve some of the problems, but to just zone them all out of existence so that we solve the small problems is really not the best solution to them.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think we also need to understand the history behind this. You know, back 20 years ago when Reagan had the law changed and people were moved out of the hospitals, the place for them to come to from Agnews was the downtown area. It was affordable. So the people came there and they were housed there. The funds did not follow to give the proper support. The county has been very generous to mental health in terms of providing supplemental rates and funding to provide good care, really good care. Now, there have been a tremendous amount of cutbacks in the past 5, 6, 8 years that have affected the ability of us to do, more or grow ourselves into other areas. But I do have to say that there's a tremendous amount of effort that's been made to give us good resources to try to help people have training that would allow them to have good group homes, to operate good group homes. Now that we're in this place where there are other kinds of housing that are developing, there are sober living environments, there are programs that are not needing to be licensed that operate a little differently than those for the mentally disabled or the developmentally disabled. It's a little different issue, and I think what we're looking at here is not one of the problem with the homes being in the community. I mean, how rich it is to have resources in your community. If you have a family member, how nice it is to have a place in your own community where they can deal with that problem and take care of that problem. But it's more the behaviors that we're seeing from a number of different kinds of congregate living where there isn't any control on the behavior of the individual. And the solution is, how do we properly handle the people that we must deal with in our community, from drug and alcohol abuse, from all kinds of disabilities, in a way that gives them the ability to recover.
Well, and I think you make an excellent point. I know for 2 to 3 years I was the clinical director of a women's home, Renaissance, which did clean and sober homes for women. We had 3 homes in the Campbell area, actually. And my experience was that part of living in our home was following a set of rules.
That's right.
There was a curfew. To live there, you had to participate in chores, which also meant keeping up the lawn. And in fact, it was my experience that our home was actually in better shape than some of the neighbors, in that we actually had to enforce that. And we were also licensed homes and licensed facilities. But I think you raise a point in terms of when something is unlicensed, I guess there's that question over, who owns these homes, who runs them,
who's responsible,
who's going to be accountable and who's going to be responsible. Let's take a look at the next ordinance so we can see what that's about.
Great.
Now, this is the R1 pilot program amortization ordinance, which I'm amazed I've now been able to say twice without choking there. Amortization is the term used to identify a method of eliminating non-conforming use of housing by requiring their termination after a specific period of time. This program will convert group homes and residential homes back to single-family dwellings by June of 2000. So my understanding of that sentence is that maybe some of these homes exist in places where they were not originally zoned to be, but that they received some sort of waiver and that was okay in terms of being non-conforming. And now the state, now the county's wanting to say, well, time's up.
That's
It's
right.
not the county, though. It's
Oh,
a city. And
It-
we
The
really
city.
need to be clear on
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Because it is the city of San Jose, not the county of San Jose that's
Okay.
proposing this.
Yeah.
And that's an important distinction.
It really is that
Especially
their
the-
ordinances for the city.
Right, and it could set the tone for other cities to move in that direction if this is approved. So it really gets into the not in my backyard mentality, you know, that is certainly out there. We know
Yeah.
that it's out there. The nice thing about downtown is that we have just this wonderful, rich environment of populations that are culturally different and can share with one another those cultures.
Okay.
The disabled haven't got a culture that's accepted. We just have to be aware of that. I have a son who has schizophrenia, and I'm looking now at putting him in one of these homes while he recovers from a problem he had recently with the death of my husband. He needs to have a nurturing place where he can go to. What they're saying is if this goes through, there wouldn't be those places for him. And that, I mean, that's really important to understand. He's an outcast. People with schizophrenia and mental illness are often considered outcasts, and other disabilities. They're just, you know, they're difficult.
Well, there's definitely, absolutely still a stigma. And I imagine, Larry, as you've been talking with different groups of this coalition, that might be part of the difficulty you're having, which is trying to
Yeah.
gain sympathy for people that maybe sometimes people wish would just go away.
That's frequently the problem. We find that a lot of people see persons with any of these disabilities as different, and so therefore they don't necessarily want them in their neighborhood. And that's what the real frightening thing about this is in the amortization zone. And it is called a pilot program because the city staff would like to start this program in the downtown area and then take it to other areas of the city. And basically they'll be turning R1 residential areas into single-family uses, and that means that a standalone structure would be for a single-family use and no other use. And so any homes that are group homes, any kind of duplexes or triplexes, even some of the affordable housing for students around San Jose State would be jeopardized by this and would be moved out into other areas. And where they would be moved out to would be R3 and R4 zones, which are where corporation yards and industrial areas are allowed. And so you can see that a group home setting wouldn't be very well wouldn't be good for treatment.
It sounds like next to a warehouse.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
We need to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and discuss this a little further. Stay tuned. When we return, we'll learn how we can get involved. Welcome back. Well, when we left, we were talking about the actual specifics of these ordinances. And